Today, we are excited to welcome Kate Warren. Kate is the director of Cleveland 311, where she leads the city's centralized customer service operation and drives cross-departmental efforts to improve service delivery and improve resident experience. She works closely with city leadership and departments to streamline processes, improve communication, and ensure residents can easily access city services to have their issues resolved. Previously, Kate served in the mayor's office, where she led and coordinated major development initiatives focused on advancing projects that support economic opportunity and neighborhood revitalization. And earlier in her career, she worked in research and policy advocacy at the Center for Community Solutions. We are happy to call her a graduate of our Cleveland Bridge Builders class of 2023 and the Advanced Leadership Institute class of 2018. Please welcome Kate.
Thank you so much. It's such a thrill to be here. I do want to shout out my Cleveland Bridge Builders classmates of 2023 who are on the line. Best class ever. Thank you so much for coming. It's also just fun to see so many current and former colleagues on the call. Thank you so much. I have learned so much from all of you, and I'm excited to share with you about what I have been working on at Cleveland 311. So let me get started here. Are you seeing my, great. Okay. So I wanted to start with a little bit of levity here. So, whether it's in a government office or a corporate customer service hotline, we've all had this experience, right? We have a woman who's looking tired, frustrated. She's waiting in line at a customer service window, and the character at the service window says, "I'm a sea lion, you need an otter." And it's like, we've all had that experience of getting the runaround. For what can feel like baffling reasons. You call, you chat, you aren't sure whether you've talked to a human or whether that human lives on the same continent as you. So it's hard to trust that you're getting anywhere close to a resolution for your issue. 311 exists to make city services easier and to solve those problems. So what is 311? We are the front door to the city of Cleveland. When people call us, it is often not their best day. They call us because they are frustrated about something or they need help. And our job at 311 is to meet them where they are and to help them feel heard and to get their issue on the path to resolution. We also, in some ways, are crowdsourcing identifying city issues. In a city like Cleveland, with so much infrastructure, so much vacant land, so many trees, so many public assets. Even if we had city staff on every main street, we could never proactively identify every issue that there is to solve. So by making an easy front door that residents can call to report these issues, we can make our city a better place to live through people like you calling and telling us about those issues. And really the beauty of 311 is that it works. When you call 311 or report an issue online, I can give you a little insight into what happens. So a ticket is created. That ticket via technology magic gets shipped off to the department that is supposed to work on that issue. They schedule and do the work. And the vast majority of the tickets that we handle are closed out faster than their target completion time. So we know that some issues in the city are more complex and they take longer to resolve. We have some tough issues that we deal with in Cleveland. And as a city, we are committed to continuing to smooth those processes over time. But 311 today creates greater transparency for residents, and it can make what sometimes feels like that confusing web of city services more approachable. It also streamlines our internal processes so that residents aren't getting lost in email inboxes or voicemails or getting a hold of the wrong department. If you don't know where to start, you can always start with 311. We strive to provide high quality customer service that gets results for our residents, which in turn really creates greater trust in our local government. And this is my why. It even is sort of what I talked about in my vision stand when I was in Bridge Builders, right? Like, I love Cleveland so much and I want what is good for Cleveland. Our neighborhoods deserve good service. Our residents deserve city services that they can trust. And 311 helps build that for the city of Cleveland and helps make Cleveland a place that people and businesses want to invest, live, spend time. So I'm really passionate about what a service like 311 means for Cleveland, and I'm so excited to be leading this work. A fun fact is that 311 was first created in Baltimore in the 90s as a way to ease the burden on 911. So 911 was getting inundated with non-emergency calls, and they said, well, let's just make a non-emergency line that people can call so they won't be clogging up the 911 lines. And while 311 does help free up 911 dispatchers to deal with true emergencies, it also just has a different orientation that I think Baltimore sort of stumbled on something really good, and that's why so many cities have adopted this. We're not worried at 311 about rushing you off the phone. We're here to listen, understand, solve your issue. And it's really good to know about these other helplines that exist in our area. We have 211 here. You can dial 211 for health and human services referrals, for social services, things like food assistance, utility assistance, housing. And if you're in a mental health crisis, you can dial 988 and you'll get someone who can listen to you and help you through your crisis. But the magic of 311 is that it's so much more valuable than just diverting from these other needs. 311 is really kind of the central nervous system of the city. We're the front line. Our data and information can and should be used to help shape policy and improve city service delivery. And the good news is we have these different lines, but if someone makes their way to us, they're calling 311 and they really should be with a different line, we'll help get them to the right place. But I think the more that we can all do as a community to educate others about these resources that exist, the better off that we will be in terms of getting people to that first call resolution for the issue that they're experiencing. So what kind of calls do we handle at 311? Our highest volume of calls are about trash, and this makes sense. Waste collection is the one city service that nearly every resident in the city relies on. So if you have an issue with waste, you can call us and we can help. We help with things like if your trash pickup was missed, if you're looking for information about the pickup schedule, if you're looking to schedule a bulk pickup, all sorts of issues related to waste. The next most common set of issues that we deal with relate to vacant property. So this could be reporting illegal dumping, which folks who live in the city might know is kind of an epidemic in the city. Our vacant properties team at the city hauled away over 7,000 tons of illegal dumping last year. So that is a huge amount of waste. And when people report these issues, it can help our team to spot trends and catch the people that are doing it. We can get at some of the root causes of these issues. So that is a really important area. You can also report building and housing issues to 311. I think that a little lesser known fact is that if you are a tenant in a building with building violations, say there's peeling paint in your unit or something like that, you can actually call 311 to report it and an inspector will come out to investigate. I mentioned these are tough issues that we're dealing with in Cleveland. Landlord-tenant issues are tough, they can take time, but I do want to let folks know that that is a resource that is available in Cleveland. A big issue at 311 is in Cleveland is potholes. Those are a streets issue. We do patch potholes year round in Cleveland whenever the weather permits. And so if you've got a crater forming in your street, especially those residential streets, those don't often get reported. Give us a call. We'll get it on the list and we can get it patched. And we also take reports of issues with city trees and park maintenance issues. If you visit our website, you can see the full list of services we provide, but these are all the areas of service that we provide today. So where can you access 311? You can always call us. It really is as simple as dialing 311 from anywhere in the city of Cleveland. 24/7, if you call that number, you'll be connected with a person who is trained to help solve your issue. And you can make reports yourself online using our self-service portal. I do also want to point out that we have a translation service, so you can call us in any language, state the language that you're looking to speak, and we will get a translator on the line to assist with that call. I want to take a minute to brag a bit about 311 because I don't think that many people know what a substantial operation it is. We handled almost 150,000 phone calls in 2025. Of those, about a third of them resulted in a service ticket, meaning that the result of that phone call was we actually scheduled some work to be done by the city as a result of that call. Another nearly 16,000 tickets came from our online portal, which just launched a little over a year ago, and we are still growing and improving that portal. And we have 11 full-time citizen support specialists on our team. We do also partner with the United Way of Greater Cleveland, whose 211 call center handles our calls after hours. So if you dial 311 after hours, you will be getting a person at 211, but they are trained to handle 311 phone calls and they're in our system. So 24/7 service. Our team are truly a wealth of knowledge. People call us about everything under the sun. And if our team don't know the answers, they really take seriously the desire to own that call and help get issues on the right path. So I have been in this role for only a little over 2 months, and I have been really impressed with the team and the operation. Our support specialists are so compassionate. They love figuring things out. They love helping people solve tricky problems. But I believe we can never stop learning and growing and improving. So I've been hard at work thinking about what is next for 311. Customer service is really our heartbeat. So I'm going to really expound on this first point. I want you to think back for a moment to that first slide I shared with the woman waiting in line at the office with the sea lion or the otter or whoever was not helping her. What if instead of that feeling of frustration that you get when you've been waiting and you find out that you're in the wrong place and you have to start over somewhere else, you got to breathe the fresh air of making one call and trusting that your issue would be taken care of? For many of our calls, that happens today. But I am pushing for that experience on more and more calls. Mayor Bibb, when I came into this role, well, he often reminds us that you can't fix what you can't measure. And when I came into this role, I had just a ton of metrics at my fingertips, but I didn't have a good metric for customer service and the quality of the calls. So that was one of the first things that I worked on. We implemented a new call quality assurance form that we use to score our calls. So it tells our agents what the elements of a good call are. What are we looking for? What does a good call mean? And then they earn points for those things that they do. And then we listen to those calls and we score them. We share those scores with them. We talk about things they can do better to improve. We've been using the form for just over a month now, and we have already seen nearly a 10% improvement just by implementing that form. So if you show people what you're measuring and you implement that, you will likely see results. And I really believe we're only going to get better on this front. Another thing we're doing in this area is resident follow-up calls. We are calling residents after a ticket has been closed out to ask about their experience and get their feedback. This has been really valuable for us. One, because I think it gives us more insight into what has happened with their issue, because our team are not the ones that are going out and solving the issue. So we don't always have that on the street insight. And then it also gives us areas where we can improve and make things more clear. So that has been really valuable for us. We are working on improved continuous training for our agents. They should always be learning new things. Things are always evolving and changing. New city policies, new programs. We want to really make sure that they are up to date on all new things at the city when they roll out. And another thing that we've implemented under this customer service and quality area is something we're calling a best practice team. So, we heard people handling things in slightly different ways. And we sit them all in a room and say, okay, when you get this type of call, how do you handle it? How do you handle it? And then we talk about, well, what do we think is the best way? And then we come to an agreement about what we think the best way is. And then we go talk to the division and we say, our agents think this is the best way to handle these types of calls. Do you agree? Is there anything that's happening on the street that we should be aware of? And then we come back and we share that with all the agents and get them all on the same page about how they're handling those calls. Because my goal is that if you're calling 311, it shouldn't matter who picks up the phone. You should get the same service. It should be consistent. So we are driving towards that. The next thing that we're doing is building our knowledge. So if you've ever done work with the city, you know that sometimes it can be confusing. And we need our agents to have the best and most current and most thorough knowledge about how to handle those various issues. And it's constantly evolving. It's a huge job to build up and maintain that knowledge, but we are working on overhauling it, making sure that it's up to date and what our agents need to answer the questions that people call in with. The next thing we're working on is expanding our service requests. So the city is a big operation and handles many more bodies of work than what we currently handle at 311. But as we grow our knowledge and our capacity, we'll be able to take on more. This is also a technological challenge. It's about improving our technology. We have a CRM that powers 311, a customer relationship manager, and it talks to our other systems at the city that departments use to manage their work orders. So we have to build our technical capacity to keep building out more bodies of work for 311. I am deeply excited about this. One of the things that we track at 311 is our transfer rate, how many calls were transferred out of 311. We want to decrease that number because it means that we're resolving more of those calls on the first call and not having to send people to another department. That means that we had the answer, we were able to put in the service request. So as the leader of 311, I think the best problem that we could have is people calling us about issues that we can't solve yet, because that will push us to continue growing and continue taking on more. Finally, we are exploring a few avenues for adding some new functionality to our system. There are so many possibilities to make our work more efficient using AI. We are looking into AI tools that can provide support for our agents. I still think that it is really important for residents when they reach out to reach a human. I think that's part of that trust building with the community. But AI can make our work better, it can make our work more consistent, and that is what I am keenly interested in. And we are also working on adding new channels to reach us. One of the ones we're considering right now is live chat. So that could be on the web or using a cell phone. Some folks can't pick up the phone and call during the workday, but maybe they don't know how to use the portal or they need that extra support. So that is one that we are considering. All in all, I am new to 311, but I'm totally sold that this is really a key part of how we deliver services in Cleveland. And I hope that you'll join us on the journey. I think if you are reporting issues, that is, and giving us feedback, that's making us better and making us grow. So I am thankful for the time and I look forward to your questions.
Hey, thank you. So let's jump in. Can you talk us through the process when a call comes in? What might that conversation look like? When do you forward to a department? How do you track kind of from the call coming in to the follow-up on that particular complaint?
Yeah, so when a call comes in, the first thing that our call takers do is take down the information of the caller, and they, in our CRM, can see if that caller has called before, if they have other recent service requests that they've submitted. And then they listen to what the issue is. And sometimes people sort of jump right in, they're in the middle of things. And so our call takers have to ask some probing questions, understand what's really going on. Are they just looking for information? If so, they can look at we have a knowledge base, a knowledge tool that they can search in and look for answers to things. And then they can share that answer with the resident. If the issue is something that is more complex or that we aren't set up to take those service requests, that is when we are transferring to another department. And in that case, our agents are trained to try to do a warm transfer. So to try to reach a human, give them a little bit of explanation about what's been going on, and then send the resident over to them. That's something we're working towards and working with our other departments on. And then I will say, if the call is about something that we do take a service request for, the agents will just walk them through the questions that they need to ask to get that service request put in and submitted to the right city department. And then our system, which is called Verint, talks to our other city systems, Acela, CityWorks. Those are the systems that our departments use to issue work orders. And then they plan out the work. And then once they have scheduled the work or done the work, they close out that ticket. So that's how that works.
And we've had a couple questions come in around the online form around how does someone submit an online 311 inquiry that might not fall into one of the pre-selected offerings online?
Yeah, so if you're trying to submit an inquiry that is not in one of the categories that's listed, I would say do not try to submit it under one that you think might fit, because likely what's going to happen is it will get sent to that person and they'll say, I don't deal with that. I don't know how to solve that. And they have no other choice but to close it out unresolved. We do have a general inbox. So if you don't think that your request fits what is on our website, you can email us at 311@clevelandohio.gov, and we will try to get your issue to the right place. Or you can also call us. That is an option if you're looking for some more clarity.
And since the launch, what has been the feedback from the community and the residents about the service?
I think so when I think about our resident follow-up calls and we're talking with residents and asking them about the service, I think we hear a lot of positive feedback about our agents. People, especially repeat callers, sometimes get sort of a relationship with our agents, and they know there are people that they trust to help make sure that their issue is on the right path. Um, I also heard a lot of feedback in my early days about the quality of our communication with residents about what was happening with their issue. That is something we are looking to really fine tune. We did actually, just before Christmas, we rolled out a new email that you get when the ticket closes. So if you submit a request online, you get an email when that ticket closes. I heard feedback that people wanted a little more information about what was going on with that issue in the ticket closure email. Um, we are working through improving some of that with our technology over the coming year, but we're making incremental improvements and already starting to make some of those changes.
And if there are users who have feedback to help kind of with that continuous improvement, how do they best submit that to you?
Um, they can email me directly, kwarren@clevelandohio.gov, or you can certainly email our general inbox, 311@clevelandohio.gov. One of the things we're working on in the new year is some formal channels for feedback, and until we have those, those email inboxes are the best way.
Since the launch, what have been some of the early successes that the team is really proud of?
I think what the well, first, what I want to say is 311 has existed at the City of Cleveland since 2009. And I think a lot of people don't know that. We have had a 311 call center for 15 years. Um, it was a smaller operation and it was not well advertised throughout the city, but it did exist since then. When we when we relaunched in September of 2024, so a little over a year ago, um, the big changes were we were going to really put the word out to the community that 311 was a service that residents could use. So there was a big marketing campaign. Folks have probably seen billboards, Ikes, online presence, things like that. So we put the word out that it exists, and we launched the online portal. And I think just that continued awareness is a big win. We had a 5% increase in calls this year over the previous year. Our our online requests, added 16,000 requests to what we were previously collecting. So it really did drive increased engagement with 311, and I think that's a huge win. I think it's a morale win for our team because they have more recognition of what they do in the community. People are starting to know what 311 is and resonate with it. And we really are the front line of the city. So I think there's a lot of pride in that. So those are some of the wins.
And since stepping into this role, hard to believe just 2 months, what have been some of your initial priorities and some of the challenges you've faced?
Yeah, I talked about some of them with my ideas of what is coming next. I think my priority in my first 2 months has been really focused on our operations, really trying to make sure I know the ins and outs of what our agents are facing and figuring out how we can support them and get them the information and tools that they need to do the job well. We have to be able to also think about growing and improving at the same time. So I'm focused on both of those things, but I would say my priority has been really working on our operation and also strengthening those relationships with our other divisions at the city that are out actually providing the services. I think having that continuous open communication between 311 and our divisions is it's just a muscle that we have to work out. And so I've been working on that with our divisions. And that helps our call takers to be more informed about what is happening. Like, for instance, monthly, I go to the Public Works Leadership Staff meeting, and this year we had a rough year with leaf pickup in the city. The leaves fell and then it started snowing a couple days later. And so there was no time to pick up leaves. So for those who live in a leaf pickup area in the city, they are out picking up leaves this week because the snow has melted and they can go out and pick up leaves. And that's really good for our call takers to know. And if we didn't have that regular line of communication, then they wouldn't be aware of that. So if they got phone calls about if Public Works was coming back to get their leaves, they would be in the dark. So that's why it's important to keep that communication open.
So, looking ahead, how would you define success for 311?
Yeah, I mean, so to me, success is we see our call volume increase. We see more calls. That means more residents are trusting us with their information. I do think sometimes people think more calls equals people being dissatisfied with city service, so they're calling to complain. No, more calls are a great thing for us. It means that people are taking initiative and trust that if they call, they will get a resolution. Success also looks like improved quality. So we're measuring our quality now. We know our baseline. We know where we started. And we're going to see improvement on that front in our call takers. Those are, and then I mentioned that improved transfer rate. We're looking to bring that transfer rate down, meaning we are handling more and more of those calls. That means that we are truly becoming the front door for the city of Cleveland, the more that we're able to accomplish that.
And Kate, you have spent some time now in the mayor's office. So, curious over the past few years, some of the leadership lessons learned from being in city government and that public sector.
Yeah, one thing that really sticks with me is I think that people can have this perspective about government that there are a lot of people who work in government who are just wrapped up in their own bureaucratic processes and don't care about delivering good service, because I think people have had that experience. But one of my reflections about leadership at the city is there are so many people who are doing this work because they care deeply and they really are working so hard to deliver good service. I think just like anyone, we can get siloed and we can have blinders for how residents are experiencing that issue. But I actually think that's sort of the magic of 311 is how we can, we hear residents. And so we can take that back to those departments and say, listen, I know you put a lot of work into this new process. It's still confusing to people. So we need to figure out a new way to communicate it, or we need to adjust or pivot. And I do think that culture is changing and more of our public servants are willing to sort of grow, be flexible and adaptable. But my leadership reflection in that is we have to encourage that in the team. We have to always point back to how are residents experiencing this? How are our business owners experiencing this? And build that into our engagement with the community as we are making changes.
Well, Kate, we thank you for sharing the amazing work you and your team are doing and encourage everyone on the call to utilize the service and be sure to please share with those who could greatly benefit. So, Kate, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. The 30 minutes goes fast. It was such a pleasure.